Everyone knows who Slenderman is now, right? This internet-created boogeyman has become a household name and continues to terrify and fascinate many. He's inspired his own video games, movies, and even a real-life criminal case. Once, there was also a very popular YouTube series that drew inspiration from the Slenderman story called Marble Hornets. You may or may not have seen it. I certainly did, probably near the beginning of the channel, which started in 2009. At the time, I thought it was terrifying. Too scary to watch, I guess, because I watched a few videos and never picked it back up. Or it could be that I lost interest. I don't really remember. So I thought it would be interesting to take a look back at it and see if it holds up to the spooky standard I held it at the time of my original viewing. Before we do that, let's do a little rundown on the backstory and origins of Slenderman. Despite what some teenage internet users have come to believe, Slenderman is not real. It was completely fabricated on an internet forum, hosted by a website called Something Awful. The particular thread was called Create Paranormal Images and called for just that. People were encouraged to post photoshopped images that were paranormal in nature. One of these posts was by user Eric Knudsen, who used the screen name Victor Surge. It included 2 photoshopped images, both black and white. The first photo depicts a group of young teenagers walking on a road towards the camera. Behind the group of people in the background, there's a smear of a tall, white figure towering over the children. The caption under this image reads, quote, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time." End quote. 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. The second photograph depicts a group of younger children playing in a park, one of them climbing a large slide and smiling into the camera. Again, in the background, a circle of children gather around a tall, shadowy figure with long, tendril-like extremities in place of arms. The caption for this image reads, "One of 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photo confiscated as evidence. 1986. Photographer Mary Thomas. Missing since June 13th, 1986. This post is the birth of the Slenderman character. It's pretty fascinating how just 2 photos and a couple of lines of text can be so effectively chilling and captivating, and begin to weave a story that would become a modern internet legend legacy, much like the origins of the Backrooms, which would come to fruition in almost exactly the same way, 10 years later. This post on the Something Awful forum was created on June 10th, 2009. The first Marble Hornets video was uploaded on June 20th, 2009, just 10 days later. Someone got a pretty quick turnaround on this project, right? Marble Hornets creator Troy Wagner was a 21-year-old film student at the time and was watching this particular Something Awful thread closely while he was on break from school. He saw the attention the post from Victor Surge was getting and quickly whipped up an idea with his friend and co-writer-director Joseph Delage. The Marble Hornets YouTube channel has 88 videos spanned over 5 years, ranging from 30 seconds to 14 minutes long. I don't know how far I'll get. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to watch the entirety of the channel for this video, but I guess we'll see what happens. So, let's get started. If you aren't familiar with Marble Hornets, I'll take the time now to give you a basic synopsis and kind of give you an idea of the format of the videos. It is filmed in a found footage style, a style made popular particularly for horror movies by the Blair Witch Project. This style involves making it seem as though you are watching real footage pulled from personal video cameras. This can involve quirks such as shaky cameras and the appearance of low film quality. It's incredibly easy to do on a low budget, and with cameras becoming increasingly accessible to the point where we all now carry one around in our pocket, this film style can really be achieved by anyone. And that's not to say it's not an effective style or genre of film. It's actually one of my favorites. I personally like the blend of fiction and reality that it gives. It makes you feel like you are personally in on the narrative, like you are seeing something that you shouldn't. If you haven't seen Marble Hornets and you want to remain completely spoiler-free, you should stop watching now. As I go into my review, I will be discussing plot events beyond a basic, spoiler-free synopsis. Here is the basic story. Each video typically starts and ends with a screen of text from a silent, off-screen narrator, giving some exposition to what we are seeing in the video. All the footage that we see is from the production of an unfinished film by a friend and fellow student of the narrator named Alex. The title of the film to be was Marble Hornets, but it was never completed and production was unexpectedly halted, and the project indefinitely abandoned. Prior to the project's premature ending, Alex had been becoming increasingly irritable and seemed to be under a lot of stress, though no one was quite sure why. Alex apparently wanted to cut all ties with his video project and wanted to burn all the footage he had collected during production, but the narrator convinced Alex to give the tapes to him, to which he agreed, under the condition that they never speak of Marble Hornets again. The tapes had lain, forgotten, in the narrator's closet for 3 years, and in the meantime he had lost contact with Alex. The videos posted on the Marble Hornets YouTube channel are to be any collected clips of footage that are deemed interesting by the narrator, who has decided now to go through all the tapes. So that's the basic story of Marble Hornets. Again, this is a work of fiction, although efforts are made to seem like this is real footage from an actual film project. That's the beauty and intrigue of the found footage genre. It blurs the lines between reality and fiction. Now, let's get into the review. As I started watching the early entries of Marble Hornets, I found I remembered it pretty well from when I originally watched it back in 2009 or 2010. I even recalled a few videos in particular that I found to be especially scary to my younger self. Here's one, for example. It's video number 6. It's only 43 seconds long, there's no audio, and it involves a frantic camera panning around the inside of a darkened house, rushing up to peer out the windows when a figure walks by. I remember being so creeped out by this when I first saw it, and of course, you get a glimpse of the Slenderman character. This was a big deal at the time. Remember, the Slenderman story, internet lore, meme, whatever you want to call it, was brand new and gaining popularity by the day. And up until this point, all people had really seen were photoshopped images of Slenderman, who was usually tactfully hidden in otherwise normal images of woods or empty suburban streets. This was probably the first video of Slenderman, and many were immediately fascinated and creeped the hell out by this character, myself included. It becomes clear that Alex was being stalked by some sort of entity and was filming himself at all times as a method of self-surveillance. The story is established very quickly and easily, and effectively builds tension. However, I will say that I started to get a little bored and disinterested as I climbed past the 10th video. I can't say exactly why, I'm not sure of the specific reason. I just noticed that I started kind of zoning out at this point while I was watching them. However, by entry number 15, I got pulled in again, when they divulge the fact that Alex has gone missing, and they start interviewing cast members of the film he was making. To me, this is where the narrative really takes off. The silent narrator, Jay, while chasing the story of the demise of his friend, now finds himself following exactly in his footsteps. He's filming himself, he's losing time, and a new character is introduced, called To the Ark. They actually set up a separate YouTube channel for this character. So at this point, they are feeding little details that add depth to the story and create intrigue to keep the viewer watching, even though by this point we are 6 months in from the upload of the first video. At this point, I began recalling videos again. Entry number 16 was one I distinctly remembered, and this one I did still find very creepy. Once again, it takes place in the dark interior of a house. Why are those videos the scariest to me? Maybe because we think of houses as being a safe place, and when that safety is threatened or breached, the facade of safety melts away and fear starts to kick in. The tension held up in this video very well. It's quiet and dark, and you are just waiting, expecting something to pop up into frame. The video was released in early October, so great timing for getting into the Halloween spirit. I said at the beginning that I wasn't sure how far into Marble Hornets I would watch, but since this is where the narrative really starts building up and becoming very compelling, I think we will stop around entry number 20, so that those of you who haven't ever seen the series, or those of you like me have forgotten, can find out the rest for yourself. So, is Marble Hornets still scary? At first, I didn't think so. I think the least scary part about Marble Hornets is the actual Slenderman that you see on camera, as an adult viewer at least. To me, the scariest part of Marble Hornets is the other stuff going on, the little plot intricacies they reveal over time, and the general tension that is created. Even though this was inspired by and became synonymous with Slenderman, it really is scary for elements unique to itself. Even if it wasn't still scary, that's not to say that it's bad. It's extremely well done, especially considering how quickly it was put together and with such small amount of money and resources. From the production side, I think it is an excellent foray into filmmaking, and from the viewer's side, it is a great way to be introduced to creepy subject matter, and this particular format of media. I think for younger viewers, any and all parts of it could still easily be quite spooky. And even when I wasn't necessarily scared while revisiting Marble Hornets, I was still captivated. I kept finding myself clicking on and on to watch the next video in the series. I think the short videos, released over time, was probably a way for them to keep the story going and also film and produce it at the same time. But it also aids the series in another way because, as we are all too aware now, the short video format is one that humans love to consume. With Marble Hornets, I kept thinking, okay, one more. They're short, right? In 2009, we had no idea what a time trap this would become. I love projects like Marble Hornets. The creators were clearly extremely inspired by the original Slenderman Something Awful post, and from such a small and vague concept, they expanded on the story, and with a vast amount of creativity and effort, and with a very small amount of resources, they made something very unique and memorable, which is why I felt compelled to seek it out over a decade later. So if you haven't seen Marble Hornets, and you like spooky stuff, you like found footage, and if you have any interest in Slenderman, of course, definitely go and watch the series. And I dare you, tonight, as you're in your house, just take a little peek outside your window, just to make sure.